So I bugged these guys, like literally, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And it was just because of curiosity and I wanted to get under the hood that started my technical career. Yeah, being a leader is how you show up. Doesn't matter what bad day you're having, you have to show up for your team. I suffered that imposter syndrome hugely. I really want this job now. But
Johneen, thank you so much for joining us on Simpa Says today. So your current role is Head of IT Distribution at Fletcher Building. So we'll come to that in a minute, but I'm going to take you back to when you were a child. Think back to when was the first time you felt that you knew what you wanted to do, and just take me through that.
You assume that I knew what I wanted to do.
Most of us didn't.
Exactly. So if I go right back, I wanted to be the first woman in space. That was what I really wanted to do. So that kind of gives you a hint of the fact that I was nerdy. I loved anything science fiction, still do. I dragged all my children to every Star Wars, every sci-fi thing I could. I fell into IT, literally. So I had no idea really what I wanted to do. All I knew is I didn't want to stay and do what my siblings had been doing, which was the traditional be a nurse, be a shop assistant, drive a truck, which was probably why I did the one-way ticket to London at 19 to figure out what I wanted to do. And it was while I was in London, I was working as an admin person, paper administration, and noticed these guys coming in that had all the latest gadgets. I thought, what do they do? And they were actually writing and developing an application for the insurance company I was working for. So I bugged these guys, like literally, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? I bugged them so much, they actually taught me how to be their system administrator. That's how I got introduced into the world of IT.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it was just because of curiosity and I wanted to get under the hood that started my technical career. And it is a little bit like Hotel California. Once you get into IT, you cannot get out. The hooks are there. And also that's, if I look back through the 90s, where a lot of my career is, there was a lot that happened in the 90s, the PCs, laptops, all those changes that were evolving. I mean, I remember dragging home parts from work and building my first PC at home because I just wanted to know what made it tick. So that's how I discovered IT.
That's pretty cool. So you definitely, and I didn't know that about you. That's actually pretty cool.
You see, you don't know.
So,
you're learning.
No. So who did you like? I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile, and obviously you've got a few other. So your first role in the UK, and that's not unusual for a lot of people in Australia and New Zealand. It's quite common for people to go to the UK.
Yes.
I think there's parts of London that are pretty much Australia and New Zealand.
Earl's Court.
Earl's Court. Yes, yeah, it's still there. You go. Still Earl's Court. There. Still there.
It is.
Still there. So what were the companies that you worked for over there?
So I stayed with the same company the whole time, and it was an insurance company called Milden & Co. on Victoria Street, near Victoria Station, actually. So it was great because every time there was a big, sort of a important person that arrived at the station and the Queen had to go and collect them, there'd be a big parade right outside my office window. So that was fantastic. Cool. So I worked for them the whole time I was there for the 2 years. So I was really lucky. I didn't contract like a lot of Kiwis did. I actually was lucky. I landed on my feet. And because they had invested in me and teaching me, it sort of built that loyalty of staying there until the bitter end of when I had to come home. So I had to come home. I could only do the 2 years.
Oh, there you go. That's still pretty cool. So when you headed back to New Zealand, did you were you able to find a role? Was that when you found a role directly with Air New Zealand, or did you have to go to educate yourself more? Or
so I kind of diverted to Sydney and mucked around in Sydney for about 6 months because I just needed to decompress from living in the big city, and I knew I didn't want to go back to where I'd grown up, which is in the Waikato. And then I came back to Auckland and I actually targeted the big companies. So the IBMs, the Wangs in those days, and digital. And I knew I wanted to target one of those because I knew I could get further education through a larger global organization. So I door knocked these organizations until I landed a role with digital, and it wasn't a role I wanted, but it was a role that got me in the door. And then through that, I ended up part of the software support team and actually then training people in Ultrix, which is their flavor of Unix. So this is digital before Compaq bought it. So this is going way back.
Yeah.
So that was when digital was a huge force. Through a lot of the changes in the 90s, digital decided it didn't want to stick with the Unix path. It invested all in its VMS. It thought that, people were always going to stay with mainframes. And so, that's, so it started to disband its Unix area. But so I was very much in that Unix, what they called Ultrix. That was my technical days.
Yeah. I love that you did the door knocking thing. I can't stress enough. I hear it all the time. My wife's in HR and she talks about, people just approaching companies, people having the right attitude, people just wanting to learn and grow. And so many people just don't want to do that. Don't want to approach companies, or at least, it's okay to get rejected. I don't think it's a bad thing. It builds character.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it does build character, and it also it was the way people handled me. Sort of, I went, okay, that's a company I want to work for. The ones that were like actually serious about taking my details, or would contact me again or check in on me. I thought, that culture was really cool.
Okay, that's cool. So obviously a lot of what you were doing was really ticking the boxes. It's educating you. You're getting a lot of experience.
Yeah. So
what then was kept driving you? And then take me through, because you've had a lot, you've worked for quite a few companies in your career. So let's not go through every single one of them. But so fast forward me from digital and then eventually to where you became a program manager at in New Zealand.
Yep. So, very much I was in the technical space for a long time at digital. And then I got to a point where, as much as being a techie is fun, I also like to talk, and sometimes it's quite lonely when you're stuck in a back room. And I'd done a lot of nights of fixing things in the middle of the night, been on call. And so I started to push where I wanted roles where I was kind of more in front, more leading, not just the back end, can you go fix it? And so that's, I got a role in Air New Zealand. They were going through a lot of transformational change. Really, again, Air New Zealand, it's a bit like once you fall into IT, there's so much going on, so much variation, constant change. That I never got bored. I looked after the service. I headed up the service desk and services, the shared services, and then got into the whole program management because they were going through quite a big transformation, which I loved because then I could leverage my knowledge of vendors and really partner with the vendors on our programs and actually see what the changes were, especially around some of the consolidation services that we were trying to do, the benefit it was to the business of doing that. And I saw lots and lots of changes through the technology at Air New Zealand. So, like from green screens to, PCs and laptops, and also from where we used to have ladies with, cards on the walls about what were happening with flights to everything being electronic. And just understanding and seeing those transformations through that era was quite amazing to what it is today. Now, I still think of Air New Zealand as my Air New Zealand because I was there for such a long time. But that was really, and again, no formal training. It was just purely me, let me go, give me a go. And when I think about it, I was really, really fortunate because I had all my children through the era of while I was at Air New Zealand. And they never hesitated in me coming in. When they wanted me, they'd let me bring the kids in. They were happy for me to come back part-time. I just had the best support. And, I look back and I know that's kind of expected now, but it wasn't when I had my children. So I always felt like I was valued and wanted. You just kind of, it helps me drive harder, to be better and to learn more all the time.
So culture was a really important part of being in New Zealand.
Yeah, it was. I saw Air New Zealand go through some really tough times. I mean, I was there through the Ansett days as well. And then the fallout from that and 9/11 and, those things really etch into your brain. That week of Ansett collapse and 9/11 it's almost like a cassette that I can put into my brain and just play it, feel the emotions of that week very strongly and the impact to our people, especially during that week.
Yeah. I didn't think about the impact of other airlines or the entire airline industry from a 9/11 perspective. I think it was obviously it's etched in anyone's brain who was alive at the time. Seeing that live, and especially obviously the people who would have been there. But yeah, that's a very good point. Never even contemplated what sort of impact that would have for anybody whatsoever in an airline industry at all. Yeah. So take me through what was then your decision from, okay, Air New Zealand through to IBM, was that from a career perspective? Was that okay, this is the next natural step in my career?
It was so Air New Zealand, I had my daughter and they were doing a massive restructure, and I kind of looked at it and went, well, this is an opportunity for me to actually buy some more time to be at home with my daughter rather than just, a few months. So I took a redundancy at that time because I just felt like, okay, where it was going, where Air New Zealand was going, I sort of felt like I ticked the boxes on what the structure was. So brought myself some time just to be a mum for a little while. That didn't last very long because I put my toe in the water and started to look at the market. And within 2 days, IBM had sort of said, yeah, can you come here? So, and then when I look at that again, it was because of people I'd worked with. And so IBM had been on the other side of the fence while I was at Air New Zealand when we were negotiating the support agreement. So they knew what I was like. And so I'd been very much in the contract negotiations for that whole outsourcing agreement. And so, yeah, they wanted me on their side of the fence, which I really appreciated. And so I went in there basically almost like a customer success, I guess you relate it to, for Microsoft roles, looking after some of their key accounts, which I really enjoyed because I could be part of the customer's journey, but really help drive IBM to deliver that. They kind of handed me then to a lot of the tech teams. I ended up managing a lot of the web guys, the Linux guys. Linux is way more special than Unix, they kept telling me, so which I always loved. So, I really got to manage some amazing individuals. I always look at managing people as the best part of the role, and it can also be the worst part of the role, but I just had some incredible individuals that I'm still in touch with a lot of them today, just because they're just special people. And so that really stretched me on my leadership skills, not manager skills, but leadership skills, because, IBM can be a challenging organization. You get dictated to, about what's happening globally, and then they want you to make changes quickly. How you take your team on that journey was quite difficult sometimes. It was the learning for me as well through that process. I just really love.
Okay, that's cool. I love a lot of what you're saying. I love especially what you said there, leadership versus management. A lot of people won't necessarily know the key differences between that. In your view, what do you think was the some of the differences in what you were doing from being a manager to people versus being a leader? Because
being a leader is how you show up. And I think it's something that stuck with me that someone had said to me years ago. It's also a little bit relating to, as a parent, doesn't matter what bad day you're having, you have to show up for your team as if it's the best day in the world, and it's like your kids go through emotions, but they don't care about what you're going through. They need you to be there for them. And so I really took that approach about caring for my team as if they were my family, and showing up for them, defending them. Can I say it? I'm the bullshit filter. So I filter what's coming down so that they can focus on delivering the best they can in their job. And for me also, being able to coach, being a leader is coaching and watching your team grow. So when somebody leaves, I never think of it as being sad. If they're leaving for the right reasons, because they're coming to me and saying, I've got this job opportunity with a company, it scares me, it excites me, then I'm all for it. I'll be your best reference. I want people to grow and develop. I don't want people to stagnate.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's part of your leadership is helping people expand their own wings and grow and support them. I've had some great support through my years. I want to share that with my teams.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you went from IBM then to HP for a period of time?
Yep.
Doing similar work as account delivery manager?
Yep.
Take me through your thought process when you were going from IBM to HP, and then we'll talk about the magical moment of your life when you met people like myself. Like being very humble.
So HP, again, it was somebody that I knew who approached me and sort of said, look, we need help. And that, it was somebody I really liked working with. Again, it is, you know what it's like. It's about the people. So if somebody that you've worked with that you kind of admire, you respect, you go, actually, yeah, I quite like what they're going to go and do. And again, looking after some really great customers, I got to build some great relationships with the customers to the point where the customer actually tried to offer me a job as well, which I always go, okay, I must be doing something right if that happens. But yeah, again, it was giving me that going from being a manager leader to actually kind of leading indirectly. So I'm having to work closely with the HP tech teams, but they don't report to me directly to deliver the best to our customers, and then sitting there with the customer and making sure what we're strategically doing for them is the right thing, which I really, really enjoyed. And it was a fun. And then I got a shoulder tap from that other organization that you're still at.
Yeah, that other organization. So I think one of the key things I'm seeing here is definitely a big part of your career has been building your network. We always talk about that. It's building your network and getting people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's who you know, not what you know, for sure. So obviously you got the shoulder tap and then joined Microsoft as a PFE manager.
Yes.
Which is where you and I met.
Yes.
I think there's going to be like these patterns of people watching these things. These are all people George knows. Yes, for now, yes.
It is for now, yeah.
Yes. And I do recall you coming in like you were just I always call it like a shining light. You were just this ball of just positivity and loveliness, and I still think of you very fondly. So a lot of
lovely.
A lot of what you're saying really always resonates with, and for those who know, I was a premier field engineer, and then Johneen was a PFE manager. She wasn't my direct manager, but I thought of her as someone I could always talk to, and you definitely resonated those leadership skills and that the care of I would never have known if you'd had a bad day, to be honest. So it does
really?
It doesn't resonate. That resonates with me hearing you say that. So was that in your mind? Was that just when they tapped you on the shoulder, was that just, oh, cool, it's Microsoft, I should take this opportunity, or was there another driver to want to work for Microsoft?
So Microsoft had never been on my radar, to be honest, because I'd always thought of Microsoft, you had to be uber technical to go work in Microsoft. And I think it was my conversation with Callum, the first phone call I had with him. I think we spoke for probably a good hour and a half. And I know they were quite down the path on going through recruitment. And I can remember saying to Callum at the end of it, I said, I know you're quite far down the journey on looking at hiring someone, but I've really loved our conversation, so I'd like to keep talking. And then I got to interview with a bunch of other people, Michael Duffin, one of them, Frank in Singapore, and every person I talked to just got me more and more excited about the role and about what we could do. And I can remember thinking, I really want this job now, but thinking it was already gone. And it was really the people that I spoke to and the way they spoke about what Microsoft was trying to do. It was different to what I had perceived it to be. So getting the role at Microsoft was I was over the moon, just so excited about it. But also I suffered that imposter syndrome hugely. Those first few weeks, I can remember thinking someone's going to walk up to me and shoulder tap me and say, you need to get out. No, we made a mistake. You've got to go. I carried that with me for weeks and weeks, thinking that, oh my God, I'm not good enough for this job. It's just, it just terrified me. But I had the best team. I really had the best team. I still just talk about my PFE team, on a pedestal. Just the most incredible guys. I loved it. I used to always laugh because I'd say to them whenever we caught up, I'm the dumbest person in the room, because these guys were just incredible. What you guys did was amazing. And so I loved that. I loved being the dumbest one in the room. To me, I should always be. As a leader, I should always be the dumbest in the room. You guys are the shining lights, and that's what I wanted. So it was it was definitely going through the interview process that sold me the role at Microsoft.
Okay. So that's interesting. So it's definitely not something that you'd sort of tried to achieve.
No.
Yeah. There you go. So what? So you then went on to, you've had a few other roles since then. So take me through, and I'll list them through. I'm just looking at LinkedIn for anyone who's interested in looking at Johneen or wants to offer.
No, it looks like a
yes,
a huge novel, doesn't it? LinkedIn profile.
It does. It's funny. I've actually only ever worked for two companies.
I know.
I worked for Australia Post, which I still have very fond memories of, and Microsoft. But I've had so many roles in those two companies. But today's not about me. It's about you. So you went to Spark. From Spark, you went to Group ICT, Sky Entertainment Group.
Yep.
Then head of Pace at Heartland
Yes, at
Bank,
Heartland Bank. Yep.
and then Datacom, and then now at Fletcher
Yeah,
Building. So
I am.
take me through, because a lot of those, was that similar? Because it seems like that's like the story of your career, where it's more about what do you feel is it the right time, the opportunity, is it
So
family stuff
yeah,
at each of
it was
those, or
family. So what upset me about leaving Microsoft is I did it for family, because as you know, Microsoft, there's a lot of travel
there
and
is?
there was some stuff going on with my kids. I chose to go because I needed to be home and I
Mm,
needed to just support the kids through the stages that we were going through. So I was really upset about leaving Microsoft because I felt like I was leaving a family, but I needed to protect and look after my primary family at that stage. And so the Spark role was, again, it was somebody who knew me, and he said, look, if you need to be local, we'd love to have you. Just come on board, stay as long as you like. There's a few initiatives we'd love you to drive. So I did that. And then Sky City, again, somebody I knew said, hey, got a whole restructure happening. I need some new leaders. Would you come in and be part of the leadership team, new CIO? And again, another whole transformational type environment. So walked into quite a challenging environment. There's the term sweat the assets. Well, they were beyond sweating. They were actually dust and crumbling. So
mm,
there was a lot of investment going on, a lot of change, like a lot of capability. So again, loved building all that up, loved building teams, getting people on board. And then COVID happened. So that's when a lot of changes happened. And so after years of building those teams up, COVID kind of wiped us all out a bit. So, and that was when I had actually a recruitment agency reach out and said, look, Heartland Bank got the strategic project. So head of PACE was my lovely manager. She didn't want boring titles, so she didn't want me down as a program manager. She wanted something more exciting, which I thought, well, look, I don't care. I'm not really a title person. It's like whatever the role is. So worked really heavily on a very strategic, that was going to be bleeding edge technology for the bank. And then as got 12 months into it and almost to a contract signing, there was a complete change of direction. So that's why I moved. I went, well, I wanted to see that program through, and they kind of had retrenched and said, no, we're going to stop those programs. So there was quite a few of us, including my manager, that we sort of went, okay, so it's time for us to move on because those aren't happening. And then Datacom again, somebody else said, hey, look, come in here and come and look after some of our customers for a while, which I did. And again, there were some changes there. And I got reached out to by a recruitment agent that sort of said, hey, there's some changes happening at Fletcher's. Would you come in and help? And I kind of went, you know what? I'd really like to get back into the customer side and get close to the business, like really close. Which is what I'm doing now. And I'm going through a bit of a transformational period here, which is really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So take me through, in your mind, what are I'm hearing very common themes across it, but I always ask everybody,
Yep.
what's your, I would say, what my career philosophy or my career values are. I need to have some sort of passion. I need to have some sort of purpose in what I'm doing, and I love helping and helping people, which is part of why I always follow education primarily. So, what would be your values or your passion? Your philosophy when it comes to your career?
I need to really believe and be passionate about what I'm doing. If I don't believe in what I'm doing or where the business is going, then I can't bring that energy to it. I love people, so I do want to be alongside the business closely and feel like what I'm delivering is actually contributing to our true customers. So for us, it's the tradies and the people off the street that want to come and buy from placemakers. So that's distribution as placemakers and Myco here in New Zealand. So I love getting out to those sites and talking with people on the ground. So that's where it is actually being close to the business and seeing that what I'm delivering is actually impacting their day-to-day lives, enabling us to drive some success, drive that revenue. It's that kind of being able to loop back what I'm doing actually makes a difference. That's what drives me. And also learning. If I'm learning, then that kind of gives me that energy. It's that if I feel like I'm topping up my tank by that loop, then that just keeps me driven into what I'm doing.
That's cool. I like that. So give me a highlight of your career and a low light of your career.
God, I think a low light was probably the first time I got made redundant, and that was in digital days when they cut back. because honestly, it wasn't as common as it is today. And I can remember thinking, oh, my life's over. My career's over. I've been made redundant. Who's going to want me now? I think that was probably a low light. Highlight. There's lots of little highlights, really. Probably, I think, probably some of the key highlights for me. When I think about highlights, it's team highlights. It's not just my own personal highlights, but it's something that we've achieved as a team. Like, it's been some amazing go lives, where we've gone live with systems that have been really challenging for us. And I think about the success of the team. To me, that's the highlight. I guess it's not because I'm only as good as my team. And so for me, I don't feel like I can just take a highlight on my own. If I think about some of the go lives, I really look at it and I really go, it's a collective that's delivered that. So it'll be a couple of the go lives that we've done over the years that have been my real highlights.
Okay, and last question, I promise. All right, let's go back to when you were young. What advice would you give young Johneen or someone who had a similar upbringing to yourself? What advice would you give them about their initial pending career beginning?
So the best advice I can give is, if you see that person that you go, I want to be like that person, go and talk to them. Don't be shy about going and talk to them, because if they are demonstrating values or behaviors that you really admire and you go, I really want to be able to mimic that, then they will appreciate you coming up and talking to them. If I look back and I look at the energy levels of the people that I respect, I've always gone and talked to them and said, and my kids laugh because I always say, well, I want to be like you when I grow up, and that's where I look. I see people that I want to role model, and I also reach out to those people and use them as mentors as well. And it may not be massively frequent. It might be a breakfast once every 6 months, but I've always reached out and said, would you be my mentor? I'd love to be able to have breakfast with you, just bounce things off you. It's the people that will give you that direct feedback and honesty that has always been the best way I've been able to grow myself.
That's really good advice. Very good point, Johneen. Okay, mate. Well, thank you very much for joining us on Simper Says. It's been wonderful catching up.
Oh, I know. It's so good to see you.
It's very good to see you.
It only feels like yesterday we caught up.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So we're not going to say how many years it's been. So we'll just say yesterday.
No. We'll say yesterday. And for everyone else, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Simper Says. If you would like to see more videos, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Or follow if you are listening on a podcast platform to support the channel and join our community.